Greetings and welcome to the course on curriculum and course design. In this unit, we will try to understand what curriculum is and how should it be. We understood the structure of the course of curriculum and course design. That means we were broadly looking at the course as in two parts. One is curriculum design, the other is course design. So without getting into too many details how it evolved, we will broadly define a simple definition of curriculum. Curriculum is all the learning of students which is planned and directed by the institution to attain its educational goals of the program. It's a very broad definition. Now we'll make it more specific the way it has evolved. We are presenting a list of important educationists who were concerned with curriculum, starting from Franklin Bobbitt in 1918 to John Dewey, Ralph Taylor, Hilda Taba, Robert M. Hutchins, Arthur Bester, Daniel Tanner and Lowell Tanner strongly rejected the historical dualism that separated liberal arts from vocational training. Even today, unfortunately, many people believe that so-called liberal education and vocational training as if they are two different opposing things, and people argue about how much weightage to be given to each. Okay, there can be issues related to implementation, but the basic strong input from John Dewey is that you should not see them as two separate things or two separate opposing things. John Dewey also believed the goal of higher education is to serve the community. For universities, please note that he used the word ivory tower, which we have been in some kind of ivory tower all the years since independence in Indian university education. For universities, do you believe they emphasize the content matters less than the method of inquiry? That means we do not count it by the amount of content that we are transferring to the student, but the emphasis should be on the method of inquiry. Whatever we are learning, how we are learning, and how are we inquiring about it. The curriculum should focus on developing the capacity for reflective thinking or critical thinking. Nobody, even today, will not question that whether it is reflective thinking or critical thinking, but still large number of faculty believe content matters more than method of inquiry. Let's reveal the interconnectedness of knowledge, because by necessity we consider different subjects are different, and each somebody concentrates on one subject and you kind of learn it in isolation. That is for what you call implementation convenience, but actually knowledge is not that kind of fragmented. Okay, so the way we conduct our curriculum must reveal the interconnectedness of knowledge. And the curriculum is not a terminal point. That is, today, of course, everyone experiences that. That is, until recently, people believe once my learning purpose has now reached a terrible point, which would only focus on implementation. But back in 38 itself, he commented university curriculum is not a terminal point. It should focus on learning how to learn. That is, believe that knowledge is continuously will grow and people have to continuously learn. learning through, so the focus of John Dewey is learning through experience, democratic education, and learner-centered approach. These were the foci of John Dewey, if you want to summarize. Thomas Ralph Taylor, actually what he wrote a book, 1948, still it is referred to. Ralph Taylor was an American educator and researcher, often referred to as the father of educational evaluation and curriculum assessment. John Dewey provided the philosophy behind modern education, that is, learning by doing. Ralph Taylor provided the structure and methodology for how to design and evaluate it. He said that every curriculum designer must answer. That is, if a group of faculty are trying to design the curriculum, you must give answers to these 4 stages. This is known as Taylor rationale. So these are what educational purposes or objectives should the school seek to attain. That means when you say school, it can also include the what we got up to 12th as well. What educational experiences can be provided that are likely to attain these purposes? Okay, first you define the objectives, and then you explore what educational experiences should the occupant of the school. The educational purposes. Then the third one is how can these educational experiences be effectively be organized? There can be sequence of learning. How do we organize that? Should it be organized into courses, or how should it be done? All the organization part of this educational experiences is the third stage. And the fourth one is how can we determine whether these purposes are being attained? So this is a structure that he has given, and now the National Board of Accreditation follows this. We'll presently see, but something happened after this. Engineering education around this time, around immediately after the Second World War, in the second half of 40s, underwent for some historical reasons into some kind of transformation. This is based on what was called Grinter's report, came after the Second World War, and that somehow kind of pushed the entire engineering education in a slightly different direction. Now it is coming back from that and coming into trying to follow the Taylor rationale. We will look at Grinter's report and what they were trying to do in the next unit, but it took several decades before we came back to this. Now, in the context of present day NBA, the language is slightly different, so we'll see what they are trying to say. There are 4 things: educational purposes, educational experiences, effective organization of educational experience, determine whether these purposes are being attained or not. So, these can be elaborated as presently the language that we use. Educational purposes are captured by program educational objectives, PEOs as we call them, program outcomes, and program specific outcomes. These constitute educational purposes as per Taylor. Then what are educational experiences? Curriculum, courses, instruction, assessment. These are the things that the student goes through, and these are the things that we have already in the earlier courses looked at instruction and assessment, and what we are going to look at is curriculum and courses. And effective organization of educational experience. How do we organize this? Curriculum design, like whether we are giving a yearly system or semester system, and what are all the institutional academic processes. That is, how much time you spend in each semester. Um, do you have an orientation program, or do you, how many courses it is split into? When do you have your assessment? How is it? What kind of time do you have to put? All that the institutional academic processes. And then on top of what, depending on how the management and faculty look at it, the institute culture itself will decide the effective organization. Okay? Then fourth one, determine whether these purposes are being attained. That is, you have to compute the attainment of outcomes. The outcomes are at the right now, as per our current thing, at the level of program outcomes, program specific outcomes, and also what we call as course outcomes. Okay. So we are already following in some sense Taylor's approach as per the NBA. Taylor's approach can be summarized. It is an objective driven systematic forming the foundation of modern outcome based education models, including frameworks used in accredited systems like ABET and Washington Accord. As far as NBA accreditation is concerned, the entire NBA process is built on Taylor's principle of evaluation against objectives. The language used by Taylor is slightly different from what we are using today, but it is the same thing, namely, the entire NBA process is built on Taylor's principle of evaluation against objectives. Example, when you create, we have presented in the previous courses how to design rubrics. For example, when we created the rubric for problem-based learning with specific dimensions and scoring ranges, you are applying Taylor's method of defining specific behaviors to measure success. So, the Taylor's principles are built into designing the rubrics themselves. Then comes another aspect is Bloom's taxonomy, is what we are following predominantly in India. Incidentally, Benjamin Bloom was a student of Ralph Taylor. So Bloom's taxonomy, which included analyze, evaluate, and create, was developed to help classify educational objectives that Taylor said were so important. So to write educational objectives, we are using Bloom's taxonomy. Now let us look at its own organization for this. But in India, it was predominantly kind of influenced by ABET and Washington Accord. So we'll present this. ABET is the Accreditation Board for Engineering and Technology. It is a non-governmental organization based in the United States that accredits post-secondary education programs in applied and natural science, computing, engineering, and engineering technology. Okay. It is something equivalent of MBA. So the ABET operationalized this in the entire USA. The way they do it in USA is somewhat different from the way it is done in India. We have explored these differences in the earlier courses. Then Washington Accord is an international multilateral agreement between bodies responsible for accrediting engineering degree programs. It was signed in 1989. The Accord is a club of world's most prestigious engineering accreditation bodies. Currently, there are over 20 full signatories. That means the signatories, which are at the level of countries, they have agreed to follow certain processes. the primary purpose of Washington Accord is to recognize substantial equivalence of professional engineering degree programs accredited by the responsible bodies in each of the signatory countries. So, while ABET operationalized in the USA, Washington Accord globalized it, creating a standard that NBA and India follows right now. ABET accreditation, I will only look at ABET accreditation provides assurance that a college or university program meets the quality standards of the profession for which the program prepares the graduates. Because every educational institution is a social institution, they have to demonstrate to the society that what they're doing is as per certain standard and we are doing a good job of that. So, ABET accreditation focuses on outcomes, what students learn rather than inputs, what is taught. A philosophy directly influenced by Ralph Taylor. Okay. For example, right until 2000, until year 2000 in India, the focus was on what is taught rather than what the students have learned. Only formal changes have taken place in India only in 2015, where the focus shifted to what students should learn. ABET has 8 criteria. Criterion 1 is related to students, that means how you are selecting the students. Then Criterion 2 is related to program educational objectives. Criterion 3 is student outcomes, that is the core of ABET. There are 7 in number now. Criterion 4 is continuous improvement, that means the department should demonstrate that we are making efforts to continuously improve in meeting the educational objectives. Then you have Criterion 4 is related to the curriculum. Criterion 6 is faculty. Criterion 7 is facilities that they have. And Criterion 8 is institutional support. Okay. We are not elaborating on each of these criteria. And the core of ABET is student outcomes. Let us look at Criterion 3, the student outcomes. While we are 7 compared to 11 from Washington Accord, it's a slightly regrouping of the same 11. All the 7 are actually implied in this. Let me read it out. The common phrase, an ability to, is common to all. Fifth is an ability to function effectively on a team whose members together provide leadership, create a collaborative and inclusive environment, establish goals, plan tasks, and meet objectives. An ability to develop and conduct appropriate experimentation, analyze and interpret data, and use engineering judgment to draw conclusions. Seventh one is an ability to acquire and apply knowledge as needed using appropriate learning strategies. One can sit down and compare these with the Washington Accord graduate attributes. They will match quite reasonably well. With the number is small, and language used is never such simple, but the Washington Accord language of graduate attributes is a little more what we call, you can say a bit tough. Maximum you can say that. Okay. Now Washington Accord, if you look at, the core principle is substantial equivalence. Accord is built on the idea that while engineering programs in different countries might have different names, structures, and teaching methods, the outcome is essentially the same. Outcome means here the quality of the graduate. Key benefits of being within Washington Accord is global mobility and quality assurance. That is, people can move from one country to the other, as is already happening right now. Then they use the word graduate attribute rather than student outcomes. The graduate attributes, a set of 11 graduate attributes that every engineering graduate must possess. That is, at the time of graduation, one has to demonstrate that I do have these graduate attributes. These attributes are the foundation for the outcome-based education system used by all signatories. These graduate attributes of Washington Accord are written in a more exacting and demanding way, but they are in the spirit of Criterion 3 of ABET. Something interesting happened. Several of the signatories to the Washington Accord initially had their own, country-specific graduate attributes. But if you look at today, many of the countries, instead of trying to write their own, you can write your own. Every country can write its own, but they feel that what is given by Washington Accord will meet their requirements as well. Many of them are practically shifting to exactly using the same language as the Washington Accord. And that's what India has also done. So, in India, National Board of Accreditation follows Washington Accord more closely than the student outcomes of ABET. Only thing, we change the name. We call the graduate attributes of Washington Accord as program outcomes, which are discipline non-specific. That means all engineering graduates should possess these, should attain these program outcomes. Then NBA requires that an engineering program seeking accreditation should also identify program-specific outcomes. And now these are anywhere either 2 to 3 right now. PSOs are only 2 to 3. So you have 11 POs given by NBA plus 2 to 3 PSOs. So it can be maximum 14. This is how we broadly fit into, I suppose we made it clear, the curriculum has to follow a top-down approach, and we have to attain the program outcomes given by the NBA as per Washington Accord. We have to demonstrate that we have attained these program outcomes and program-specific outcomes. Now, in the next unit, we'll present evolution of engineering education, how engineering education has changed over a period of time. Across the world, we will look at that evolution. And thank you very much.